In his status window, Ed Roth Taylor is 18 years old at the moment, and is in year 3. He got the Skilled Survivor achievement for surviving in the forest for 1 year. He also got the high-level Spirit Summoner achievement for successfully summoning Marilda. As for his stats, his strength is 13, his intelligence is 13, his dexterity is 15, his willpower is 12, and his luck is 11. This is still a cold winter. Ed is making an object called wooden windbreak wall in his cabin at this time. It is a wall made by tying wooden planks with ropes and filling the gaps with mud. This wall can slightly block the wind. The crafting difficulty of the object is only 1.5 stars. Now, creating an object like this does not increase his crafting proficiency or stat anymore. To improve, he must find a new challenge soon. Ed wiped the sweat off his face after finally successfully crafting the object, but he was then surprised when someone spoke to him from behind him. It is indeed a good thing to be prepared for strong winds. The person said that she was glad to see him healthy. That person was Belle Maya. She was seen carrying Lucy at the moment. Seeing that, Ed then asked, "Did you come here to catch Lucy?" Maya explained, the academy had issued new instructions. During the snowstorm, no one was allowed to leave the dormitory unless it was urgently needed. Since she is the most likely candidate to escape, we have to watch her closely. We will switch shifts to watch her for a whole week. With a desperate look in her eyes, Lucy then asked Ed to help her, but Ed seemed to just ignore her call. He said that he understood. He also said that he would still use formal language. Maya was annoyed to hear that. Putting that aside, Maya then asked him, "Can you really survive for a whole week living in a place like this during a snowstorm?" Maya apologized for her impoliteness, but she doubted that the windbreak could withstand such a fierce snowstorm. Ed didn't argue with her. He said that the windbreak was just to maintain supplies. Ed wasn't worried about the snowstorm at all. He was more concerned that it would have a negative effect on his cabin. Plus, he had reinforced the roof with ropes and tied it securely to the ground. He had also kept all his hunting traps and equipment in the cabin just in case. On the week of the snowstorm, he planned to research magic engineering in the Soul Library. Ed seemed to have planned carefully about what he would do during the snowstorm. He then said that he had a shelter, so he asked her not to worry about him too much. Hearing that, Maya said that made her feel calm. But, even though Maya said that, but Ed knew that she still looked quite worried. He asked, "This might be your first time facing a snowstorm as a head maid, right?" But Maya said that it was not what she was worried about. Actually, she thought he was the one who seemed to have other worries. But Maya suddenly felt hesitant to continue her words. She then just told him to forget it. She was too much. Hearing that, Ed said, "Now you're making me even more curious." While imagining the complicated events that would happen to Ed later, Maya then said to him, "By the way, good luck." Maya certainly referred to the feud between Janica and Anise. With a face that looked like she wanted to cry, Janica then asked Anise, "I heard you were hugged by Ed." Clara was then surprised to hear that. She then immediately turned to Anise. Anise could only be silent in the face of her question. Her face looked very pale at this time. Seeing that, Clara knew something was wrong. But she still tried to defuse their feud. She then said to Janica there seemed to be a misunderstanding. The spirits might have seen wrong, but Anise did not refute Janica's words earlier. She confirmed it. To be honest, she was the first to seduce Ed. Clara was then shocked to hear that. While clenching her hands tightly, Anise guiltily apologized to Janica. Honestly, she just couldn't believe him, because in her view, Ed looks like a person who likes to play with girls, so she tested him to see it. Janica was then surprised to hear that. She then half incredulously asked her, "You're not lying, right?" Anise asked her not to worry. People like him are not even her type. What she meant was, when looking at him, it could be clearly seen that he had a thug aura. He was always arrogant, complaining all the time, living in his own world, thinking he was great. Anise then sharply said to her, "Why would I want to pursue someone like that?" But, she then just realized that she had spoken excessively, while shedding tears. Janica then asked her to stop. It was too much. She didn't even really know Ed. Her words seemed to have hurt Janica. Clara herself could only sit silently in the middle of their debate. Hearing Janica's words, Anise then bowed her head. She apologized for not telling her before seducing him. She then apologized to her once again. While shedding tears, Janica then irritably and angrily asked her, "Why are you doing things that I didn't even ask for? Do you know how much I am worried about this?" Janica complainingly said, I have trouble sleeping at night because of this. You are my dear friend." Janica was confused. Should I feel betrayed like this? But do I even have the right to feel betrayed? She felt that she was nothing to Ed. She wondered, am I overthinking it for no reason? In the midst of her anxiety, Anise then patted her shoulder and told her not to worry. She said, "At least, you are a special person to him. From my observations, Ed considers you more than a friend, almost like a lover." Her words seemed to calm Janica. She then asked, "Really?" Janica's eyes then lit up when she heard that Ed considered her special. She couldn't stem her tears anymore at this time. She then told her, "Honestly, it's not good to judge Ed that badly, but anyway." She knew that her intention was for her good. She couldn't be angry with her for that. Janica then once again asked her, "So, you don't like Ed, right?" While hugging her body tightly, she then thanked her for being honest. Clara was relieved to see that the relationship between the two of them had improved. For a moment, she thought Anise was really in love with Ed, but when she saw Anise's face, she then once again doubted. Clara then tried to distract Janica. She asked her, "Is there a misunderstanding here? Is it possible that you are so upset that you accidentally went to the northern forest?" Her words made Janica finally remember something, while running fast towards a place. She apologized to them and said she would be back soon. While waving her hand towards her, Clara asked her to come back quickly. After the two of them left, Clara then hesitantly called Anise. Anise said that she had an idea. Hearing that, Clara then confusedly asked, "What idea?" With a moody aura that enveloped her surroundings, Anise then asked her to introduce her to a man. But, right after she said that, Anise suddenly told her to forget it. She then told her that she had to think more boldly. While putting both hands on her shoulders, Anise then asked her, "Free from your prejudice, what if you date me?" Clara could only be silent to hear the madness of her best friend. Seeing Clara's languid look that stared at her, Anise then asked her not to look at her like that. Clara could only feel confused by that. While showing signs of madness, Anise then apologized for lying to Janica. She then convinced herself, people distance makes feelings deeper. Once this semester ended, she would be able to relax because she would not be dealing with scholarships anymore. But, her expectations seemed to be shattered when she heard the words of Assistant Professor Claire. They were currently holding a celebration. Claire said that they all agreed to continue working as student assistants. Anise could only remain petrified hearing that. Claire explained, Clebius and Onyx were diligent and competent in their work. They were proactive and could do many things, so it would be a shame to move them to another lab, especially Ed. He had done his work very well, because now they were assistants. The scholarship will also increase. Claire said that working in this lab is more comfortable compared to other labs. She asked, "Since we have been working here during the holidays, the atmosphere is more relaxed, right?" She then invited them to continue working together. Anisa's face looked very pale when she heard that. In his status window, it was mentioned that Ed had unlocked the ability to use intermediate magic. His spirit magic had also reached a fairly high level. He can now contract a total of 4 spirits, with 2 slots already used, namely Mug and Marilda. After leaving Anise and Clara, Janica then arrived at the cabin. She then said to him, "You should be able to make a contract with an intermediate spirit soon." Hearing Janica's usual cheerful tone, Ed then said, "It seems like your condition has improved. It's different from when she last came here." Hearing that, Janica then pretended to forget. Ed just smiled slightly at that. There was something about Janica that made him feel calmer, like a layer of tension was gone. Ed guessed that it might be because she wasn't involved with main scenario at all. She was the only friend of his age that he could really call a friend. Janica then hesitantly said to him, she knew that he had made a contract with Marilda, but still she felt that it was strange. She felt that it was too early for him to handle high-level spirit. Hearing that, Ed just said that he was a little cheating in this system. He then took out something from his shirt pocket. It was a legendary magic artifact, Glast's golden phoenix ring that he got from the safe left by Professor Glast. After that, Ed then explained to Janica about Professor Glast and the golden phoenix ring, then talked about his future plans. Janica then confusedly asked him, "Are you unable to use magic now? If so, making a contract with an intermediate spirit will be difficult." Hearing that, Ed explained, his magic will return at the beginning of the next semester after the winter break. Whatever it is, Janica then congratulated him. She explained, among spirit sorcerers, the day on which a spirit sorcerer makes his first contract with a high spirit is called the second birthday. Janica then asked him, "By the way, are you really planning to stay in the Seoul library during the snowstorm? You are always so diligent. Hearing her praise, Ed then praised her back, you are also equally diligent. You are always the best student in our class. Ed then remembered something. He asked, by the way, once the snowstorm is over, it indicates that the student council election is approaching, right? You will get a lot of attention as the best student in our class. While scratching the back of her head, Janica said that everyone had asked her about it. She thought to remain neutral because she didn't know much. In the scenario, Janica didn't get much attention despite being the best student in her batch. She respected all the candidates because of her personality. Janica then remembered something. She asked him, isn't your sister also running for student council president? Ed confirmed it. He said that his sister was more ambitious than she thought. With a feeling of depression and guilt, Janica then asked him, so, are you close with your sister? Hearing that, Ed thought for a moment. He then just said, you could say so. It felt a bit awkward for him to say it confidently because he had been kicked out of the family, but they were still siblings. Like it or not, they would continue to deal with each other throughout life. So, Ed said that he wanted their relationship to be good, maybe not too close, but he cared about her. Hearing that, Janica with a trembling voice said that it was good that he cared about her so much. This was just a matter of competition between siblings. Janica then pulled the end of his sleeve while calling him. With a guilty face, she then asked, what did Tanya like? Did he know something that she might like as a gift, or maybe her favorite food? Hearing that, Ed then suspiciously asked, what have you done to Tanya? Janica immediately evaded when she heard his question. Ed could only be silent when he heard her answer. He knew that Janica was lying. She was not good at lying. It only took about 3 seconds for her to confess because she felt guilty. Ed smiled a little at that. Actually, the situation was not too serious. Watching the world being drenched by heavy snow from inside the Ophilus Hall, Clarice then muttered, they said there would be a snowstorm this morning. No one is allowed to go out unless they have special business. If there is really something you need to do, then you must first report it to the maids. While looking at the blessing of sacred law in her hand, the scene a few days ago still continued to be imagined in her mind. The fear she felt when she saw that third-year senior, but more than that, there was a strange feeling of discomfort. It felt so natural that she almost wondered if she was just imagining. When Ed asked her to be careful not to lose that item again, Clarice was sure that what he said at the end of their meeting was a formal greeting. Knowing that, Clarice anxiously wondered, what could that person know her secret? She had worked hard to live a normal school life here. She had made a lot of efforts, from asking the priest for help and others. If there was one outsider who knew her true identity, then she would have to leave this life. She was certainly not willing to do that. Information about that senior was easy to get. It was lunch break. While she was sitting while eating her food, she then heard her classmates mocking each other. It was Joseph and a male student. Joseph then mocked the male student. You act so arrogant, but it turns out you can't even get close to the altar. The male student then got upset hearing that. He told him to shut up. He said that he was just caught off guard. He also reminded him that he couldn't get into Class A either. Joseph did not feel offended at all by his words. He said that senior was not an ordinary person, reportedly. He was among the most recognized people in the third-year class. He heard. He lived in a cabin in the northern forest. Clarice got such important information without even bothering to look for it. After remembering that, she then thought, once the snowstorm started, she would be stuck in Ophilus Hall for at least a week. Once the storm ended, spring would come, and the new semester started. At that time, maybe she would lose the opportunity to silence him. As Clarice opened the window of her room, the cold wind then directly hit her face. Before leaving, Clarcy then prepared her mentally first. She felt this was very scary, really scary, the darkness and the brutal cold of Ed Roth Taylor. Clarice then recalled a piece of song lyrics performed by Adele. Staring at the white walls and ceilings constantly makes one lose sight. The colorful world outside, you won't understand its beauty until you experience it for yourself. That piece of song lyrics was like a fuel that filled Clarice's courage at the moment, which made her dare to step into a place she knew nothing about. She then reactivated the blessing of sacred law. A yellowish aura then enveloped her entire body, and made her return to Kylie's appearance. She was determined not to let anyone take away her hard-earned freedom. If she wanted to be sure, she had to meet that man. After confirming her thoughts, Clarice then began to step. Now only her silhouette could be seen under the heavy snowfall. Saint Clarice, in danger of being trapped.